Hey y'all, this is Marla Kay, and I have things that I want to say to you tonight. Um, I don't even want to rehash the election because I feel like enough people have talked about it and expressed my sentiments. The point has been driven home to the Democratic Party, so they know, we are not playing any games. As far as turnout. Going forward. But I want to say after you look at and I don't know what the numbers are because they haven't come out yet. You look at exit polls, and I don't really like to use poll numbers because people lie. So I'm gonna withhold my comment about the turnout, the black turnout. But it looks like a lot of black people still went out to vote in Virginia, which basically means that black people are still afraid of not um, voting or voting down ballot or doing something different. So I'm a little not sold on the fact that we did anything or we had an impact. I'm thinking more that white people um, chose to vote more for the Republicans because it's off election, and people that might have voted for Joe Biden as president chose to go back and vote Republican. Um, you know, for this particular election and going forward because hey, let's face it, white people love their racism and they're not giving that up for nobody. So I don't really have any particular feeling about this election. I think it was less of us and more of white people. I'll just say that. Um, Voting for Republicans, not so much that black people stay home. So I will probably wait until midterms to make a decision about whether or not black people are serious. Right now, I can't really tell. This one election, I know around the country, a lot of progressive candidates were elected, which is good, and a lot of media attention hasn't been paid to those races. But I know a lot of races, especially here in Florida, races came out, and hardly any, um, Democrats um, won in South Florida. In South Florida, it's becoming, heavily Republican, and you don't see the Democratic Party down here trying to do anything. And I think it's because they know, these immigrants that come here, they are anti-black, and that's why they align themselves with the Republican Party. So I don't know why the Democratic Party pretends like it's a melting pot and we have this big happy tent. Like it's issues, and eventually, we're gonna have to talk about it. So, as the poll numbers come out and the data comes out, not necessarily poll numbers, but when the data comes out about the breakdowns of votes, I'd be interested in seeing how other demographics outside of black people voted. I think the turnout was high for black people, but I'm thinking that a lot of Hispanics and Asians probably went for Republicans more than they did for Democrats, even in 2020. So that's going to be something to pay attention to because it will also show that while the Democrats are vested in giving the um, other POC coalition stuff, not doing anything for us, it's not paying off. Those people are still anti-black and racist a lot of times, or they vote with their pocketbook. They have a different philosophy, or they like the proximity to whiteness, so they're going to vote along with the white people to help them maintain their power because they feel like they get something from it. And for some groups, they do get something from it. If you are white, Latin person, or white immigrant, yeah, you get something when you vote Republican because you're able to pass But for us, we are not. So I just I'm not reading too much into this VA um, race, other than it is a wake up call that they can't rely on white people. That we already knew that we can't rely on them. So I'm not really wasting my time on that. What I want to talk about though is the blame game. How somehow black people um, didn't do something. I haven't seen a whole lot of that, but as the days go on, with the next 2, 3, 4 days, they're gonna figure out some kind of way to blame black people when the real data comes out about how people voted, even if it went down two percentage points. It's going to be, oh, black people didn't show up, black people didn't come out to vote. So be ready for black slander that's coming. And also be prepared for the entrapment. So they're getting ready to start up with all these different groups. You're going to see a lot of LGBTQ push, the coalitions that they formed during the Black Lives Matter um, protest. A lot of these groups are getting ready to start up, and everybody's jockeying for power, and they're going to be trying to attach themselves to whatever it is that we're doing. What we have to do is recognize that that's happening and understand that, like, we don't, at this juncture, everybody should be fending for themselves. Um, the only thing I can say is figure out what's going on in your community. Look at who's on the ballot, especially for school boards, mayor, police chief, so on and so forth. Investigate these people, because a lot of these candidates are um, establishment-backed candidates, and they're gonna slip them in. If you're not paying attention, by the time you figure out they're on the ballot, it's gonna be time to vote, and it'd be too late to put up a challenge or figure out a strategy to not get whoever is elected on the whoever is on the ballot. Develop some type of campaign to get rid of them. So we have our work cut out for us, but this time should not be spent gloating about the Democrats losing. We made them feel good. We got a lot of races to deal with. We have a long way to go, and we need to strategize. It's not just about people losing. Who are we going to replace those people with? Because at the end of the day, we still won't have any power. So it can't just be, a win lose, and I'm happy, I'm gloating to see them lose. What is the replacement? What's the alternative? What are we going to do? And that is what we need to be doing. Like, we need to have campaigns for who we're voting against. We should have funds to put up billboards and buy signs. We should have a whole strategy. We should have funds put away, or be collecting funds, or start some type of campaign to help people who want to run for office but may not have the money. You want to be grassroots, that's grassroots. Grassroots is finding people in your community who are not polished, seasoned politicians to run for office. Well, a lot of times people don't run because either they don't have the right background, or they don't have the money to pay the fees. And I don't know if you saw that truck driver in New Jersey who paid $200 and he unseated an incumbent. Like, he didn't hardly do anything, and then he don't even know what to do, but he won. So people are tired of the establishment politicians, really, in both parties. And we have to develop strategies to figure out how we are going to um, beat this system. So it's not just about winning or losing, it is about getting power. And how do we do that? Do we have, candidates who run as Republicans, but they're really Democrats? Like, we have to really think about this and figure out what we're going to do, But this is not a time to be comfortable. It's not a time to just gloat and talk. We all need to be with groups, with people, doing things, educating people, trying to figure out how we can help each other get power nationally. And of course, we probably won't be able to form any national vehicle. And in fact, I'm opposed to that because so often those organizations get hijacked by political lobbyists and politicians. They end up being a vehicle that's co-opted, and then a message is repackaged and pushed to us. We jump on because they're saying something cool, a nice logo, whatever, slogan, and then the next thing you know, we misled again. We left our momentum to follow something that's going nowhere, going in circles. We got to stop that. So when you create your own messaging, when you create your own agendas, when you pick your own candidates, when you openly, oppose anything that the establishment is offering you, then you have some leverage. Then you can show, hey, they have, some momentum and a vehicle. We have our own language, we have our own vocabulary. So, you know, think about that over the next couple of weeks. That's what I'm going to be talking about. How can we do this? And I'm going to put things in my comment section or my descriptions of my posts so that you can do your own research. How do you run for school board? How do you run for mayor? How much does it cost? If we need to create political action committees to fundraise and provide candidates with money and help with advertising and whatever, whoever we pick, 'cause we need to pick our people. We need to know this information. And, I know a lot of times people don't like to take the time to do this kind of stuff, but we have to do it. If you're not going to run, you need to commit to doing something. You need to commit to canvassing. You need to commit to helping people get registered to vote. You need to go, phone bank, maybe help, donate money to somebody's campaign. Whatever we can do, we are going to have to do this ourselves in order to fight whatever is coming down the pipes. And the Republicans got a strategy. Like, they are locked. They know what they're going to do next. It's methodical. It's been happening since 2008, 2009. And like, this is the final phase of what they have planned. So, regardless of what they do, two things we know for sure is they're not going to stop doing what they do. America's not going to stop them from doing what they do. And we're going to be collateral damage. So what can we do to minimize the damage that is headed our way? That is what we need to be focused on. Again, it's not about winning or losing. It's not about, yeah, we show the Democrats, that L is in the books. They are on notice. They're not going to change their behavior. I can tell you that. They're not going to change their behavior. What is going to happen, though, is we are going to change as we start crafting our messaging, start being on code, start, you know, speaking the language that the federal government, or I like to call it Fed speak, that the government recognizes, that lets them know, hey, these people are paying attention, then we can get someplace. But as long as we out here just saying tangibles and on code, and they don't know what that is. They don't even care at the end of the day. That's just for us. But no, they don't care. Yeah, we want tangibles, but what are those tangibles? And whatever they're doing, we need to be able to use the right language that they can respond to. Because right now we're not doing that. And so, few of us are doing that. But when they post stuff, you need to be under those comments and letting them know, hey, you didn't do XXXX thing. I saw a lot of that today, and that's good. They need to understand that Black people on the Twitters and the Twitter streets are pissed. And not only are we pissed on Twitter, it's a lot of people who don't use Twitter who are pissed and they're not saying anything. So as time goes on, we're gonna get better with our messaging. But as we do, we need to be in small groups, brainstorming. We need to have think tanks. We need to strategize to figure out what the hell are we going to do for 2022 and 2024. We can't just watch people lose and not have anybody to, you know, run these candidates out of office. So we got to do something. I want y'all to be thinking about it, strategize. I'm gonna do some lives. I'm probably gonna do my first one next week, and I want to talk about what we can do because I have a lot of skills to do some things, but I'm a behind the scenes kind of person. I'm not running for office because I cuss too much. Just tell you that right now. I cuss. I have bad attitude, and my face don't be right. So I know I can't do it. But if you need somebody to do some research, opposition research, you want some canvassing, you want to set up a political action committee, you want to do some training on how to set up organizations, nonprofit organizations, so that you can make sure you have the right people in place, you have some accountability, you have all of the things that you need in order to do business, you got the right people with the right skills. I can help you with that. I do that for a living. But we all have skills and things that we can do. We need to figure out what we can do to help in this hour and not sit back and rely on a handful of people to lead millions to some promised land. Everybody needs to help. Everybody is, if you're on the Black First journey, you need to be figuring out what it is that you can do to contribute to make this thing possible. We don't have a lot of time. It's November. By next November, that's 2022, that's the next election cycle. So you have exactly 1 year. So let's pay attention to what's happening in our communities. Let's see who's running for office in your state, in your district, and figure this thing out, because we can't just let people lose and then don't run any candidates. That's just not going to work. We still end up not having power and in the same position that we're in now. So I saw a lot of candidates of color winning yesterday, which is not necessarily a good sign for us, and I'll talk about that later. But we have to strategize, period. We can't skip that part. And over the next couple of weeks, we're going to have to do that. By January, we need to have a plan in motion. People are registering to run for office soon, and we need to figure out what we're going to do. So, don't get your underwear up in a bunch and don't get too happy, because this is just the beginning. They know, the Democratic Party knows what's happening. They know that the Black grassroots are tired. They hurt us, but they're not going to change. And if we don't have anybody to run in, opposition to them, they're just going to be reelected. So we're behind the power curve. We got to get our stuff together. So I just wanted to drop you a line and let you know that I saw the results, but I'm not impressed, because a lot of us still turned out, and that's not good. So until we get to the point where Black people understand what is happening, that's when we'll get somewhere. But as long as Black people still scared and motivated and willing to go out and vote, not only will you vote and not get anything in exchange for that, you're going to get blamed for whatever happens if the candidate doesn't win that the establishment has put forward. So we have to be very careful in this hour, but just make sure you're paying attention and thinking about what is our next step, because it's not just one person's responsibility. As a collective, if you're on this journey, everybody has to do something. So do your part, and let's talk soon. Have a good night.